everybody. Welcome back. This is Miss Faye, and this is my world. Today's topic is children need guidance, not control. Children need to be guided, not controlled. Before we get started, I'd like to say welcome. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to all the new viewers, the new subscribers, and welcome to you who have been with me from the beginning. I really appreciate you. Now, to get us started, I did pull a short video. Let's watch this video, and we have a letter. Then we're going to read this letter and dive right into this topic. Children. Your children need guidance, not control. Here we go.
Number one reason that I do not punish my children when they make a mistake or they're upset or they're struggling. Not because fear of a caregiver negatively affects their brain development, though that is true. Not because I want them to trust me and come to me when things are hard in their life. Also not because I want them to learn how to take feedback without going into shame and fear. Because I see my children as people. So I believe the golden rule applies to them as much as it does to me. No one in my life punished me because I was struggling to learn something or because I wasn't doing something they wanted me to do. I would call that abuse. Children don't need punishment to learn. They need compassionate, patient, mature grown-ups who can stand beside them and help them find the path forward when life feels complicated, tricky, and confusing.
Okay, let's dive into this letter. She says, I was just wondering your thoughts on parenting. I know you had 4 boys and raised them a little differently due to your own growth and experiences throughout your life. I am a single mother with a 12-year-old son. I try to be patient and understanding of his development and making mistakes without jumping down his throat for every little mistake. I am a little soft on him because he's my only baby, and he really is a good soul, so helpful, respectful, and sweet. What is your take on gentle parenting versus authoritative parenting? Do you think it depends on the individual child? Okay, let's look at this. Now, I did raise 4 boys. Practically by myself because my 2 marriages didn't work out, so I ended up parenting them. Now, the thing about it is, in my childhood, I got whipped, beat, whatever you want to call it. I was born in the South, and they believe in whipping their kids into submission. But even as a kid, I felt like that was wrong. You should not lay your hands or any kind of instruments to hurt your children. I just felt it in my heart. It was the wrong thing. And plus, I don't believe in capital punishment anyway. All right. So I decided that I would not lay a hand on my kids. I would talk to them, reason with them, try to discuss with them what they did and why it's not the right thing to do. Okay. Now, as when they were growing up, because I wanted my boys to be assertive people, not to be passive and timid and introverted because they were afraid of authority. Didn't raise my kids to be fearful of authority. Okay, because I'm not fearful of authority. Okay, so I didn't instill fear into my kids. When they did things that I didn't agree with, I just went and told them, don't do that again. That is not the right thing to do. And then try to show them why it's not the right thing to do. Now, when you raise your kids like this, when they're young, it's easy peasy. But they will speak up. And that's what I wanted. I wanted my children to be able to stand up to authority and speak up, not to be afraid just because, they're over them or whatever the situation is. I wanted them to be strong, independent, and successful people. Okay? And I didn't want them to grow up to be followers. I wanted them to be leaders. Okay? And to be a leader, they needed to be confident, strong people. So I didn't beat them down when they were little, just because I could. And, I've heard men say, if you don't beat them when they're little, when they get big, they're going to beat you. I heard that so many times. In fact, my own father said that to me. I don't believe it. I've never had any of my children to beat me. But I have had them, to confront me after they got older. But then, that's the way adults, whenever there's a disturbance or whatever, adults talk it out. We talk it out. It's no putting our hands on each other, beating each other up or anything like that. I believe that if you beat your kids or whip your kids when they're younger, you're teaching them to be violent. You're teaching them that that's the only way to handle conflict is through violence. You're teaching them the only way that they're going to get what they want is through violence. When you do that, because you're the model. So if you are wanting your kids to do something and they are disagreeing about it, if you beat them into submission, then that's the message that the kids got. See, when they grow up, they'll beat their people into submission, whether it's their children, whether it's their wife, or whoever it is. You don't want that. We need to get that out of our minds. It's a mindset. It's a mindset to whip your kids. And I know that, in the Bible, it says something about spare the rod, spoil the child. But remember that the Bible is metaphoric. It's not to be taken literally. Okay? And I'm sure that passage meant something different than you beating your kids. You see? And I don't call it, like you said in your letter. Let me pull it out. You said gentle parenting. Well, that's a nice way to put it, but I think that should be how parenting should be. To guide your children in the right direction, but let them have a voice. And I know sometimes you'll get frustrated and, you feel like you just can't take it anymore. Then you go off to your quiet space and gather your thoughts together. Then when you come back to the kids, you'll be more in a loving space. But don't snatch your kids. Don't threaten your kids. Don't curse at your kids. Just love your kids. Love is the answer. If you show respect in your home, your children will grow up to be respectful. But they'll have a voice. And they may say things that you might not agree with, but that doesn't mean that you slap them. Don't talk to me like that. I'm your mother. I'm your father. No. Just say, listen, I don't appreciate that language. Don't use that kind of language. That's wrong. But if you do this from the time that they are little, when they grow up, you won't have this problem with them. If you show your children violence when they're young, when they grow up, they will continue the violence. This is my take on it. And it has worked for me. Love your children. Now, I do want to say something. You said in the letter that your son is 12. Okay. When my children, my sons, got to the teenage age, there was a change in their personality. I don't know if it was testosterone or whatever it is, but I did get some confrontations when they got in the teenage stage. Now, they didn't go out and get into trouble or anything like that, but they did have some words that they wanted to express to me. And a lot of times this comes because if you, being the woman, if you are the single parent and there's no father around or anything, then all the blame is going to come on you. The child, whatever happens in their life or whatever, they're going to blame you. And that comes when they get teenagers. My life is terrible because of you. This is what they'll do. But just ride it out. It's just a phase. Just a phase. And remember, it's the way that you respond to these actions that will make the difference in your life. Now, if you respond in kind with getting angry and why are you talking to me like that and why are you doing this like that, well, then that's the way they're going to come back at you because you've taught them freedom of speech. Now, I do believe that children need to be respectful in their speech, especially when they're talking to their parents. They should be respectful and not just talk to you any kind of way. But I do believe that they should have freedom of speech. Okay? Okay, I don't think that you should shut your kids up. Number one, because you are teaching them to be submissive. And that is not the qualities of a leader. To be submissive. When they go to school, they teach them submission. When you send your kids to school, they're teaching them to be followers, not leaders, followers. You see? Think about it. They go to school for this training so that they can work for somebody else. They don't train your children to have their own businesses. They train them to work for other people. Okay? Work for the elite. Start with your children when they're very small. Let them have freedom. And don't pop them don't keep your hands off of them, trying to hurt them and teach them and all that. Guide them. Guide them with a gentle, loving hand. Okay? And then they will grow up to be gentle, loving people. Okay? You are the model. And your children are looking to you for guidance. Okay? You see, I see sometimes on social media excerpts of little kids fighting each other. Where do you think they got that from? Fighting each other. They see fighting at home. Somebody's been laying their hands on them. So that's why they know how to do that sort of thing. A lot of these instances happen with your children because you get so frustrated in your own life that the kid is just one added thing. Okay? And a lot of times parents will snap and hurt their kids because they're hurting inside themselves. Don't do that. Take yourself out of the equation whenever you're feeling stressed. Go somewhere else and gather yourself. And then come back to your kids in a loving manner. Let your kids see you loving instead of seeing you being some sort of a monster to them. Okay? And it'll make a difference in their lives. And they'll grow up to be loving people. Because remember, they are looking to you as a pattern to who they will be when they grow up. You are their model. Just remember that. You decided to have these kids. Be happy that you have them. And another thing that gets me is people will have kids. And then when they get 18 or 19, they can't wait for them to leave. Why? That part I don't get. Why have kids if you can't wait for them to leave? That's beyond me. I think it's a mindset that people have that when the kids get 18, they need to leave, whether it's female or male or whatever. Now, I know everybody doesn't have that mindset, but it's too many people that do, and they will go as far as kicking their kids out when they're 18. It's time for you to go and make it on your own because it's possible that somebody did that to them. Okay? I've also heard people say that if you don't beat them, then they'll end up in jail or prison and all of that. That's a falsehood too. I know a lot of men who went to prison and they came from violent homes where they were beat all the time. No, that's not the answer. Keep your hands off your kids. Love your kids. Hug your kids. Let them know what love really feels like. You see? Take care of your children. Love your children. They are a blessing. They are a gift to you. But if you show your children violence, they will grow up to be violent. This is what I want you to understand. These patterns need to stop. We need to embrace our family instead of kicking them out in the street. Make your own way. I've done my best. You make your own way now. Don't do that to your kids. Don't do that. Love them and care for them, and they will grow up to be loving, caring people. I hope that you understand the message today, and I really hope that it helps someone. Now, those of you who have a question that you'd like for me to answer, my email address is in the description. And those who are interested in your affirmation, the link is also in the description. I want to thank you so much for supporting this channel. Thank you for your comments and your letters, and a very special thank you to those that leave a donation. I really appreciate all of you. I wish you all the very best, and I really hope to see you next time.